Hello everyone, this is Ross from retrodreambeam. I'm an eBay seller full-time. I've been doing this with my fiance Aneta for more than 3 years now. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is going to be like our recap video for how is eBay for us, specifically our perspective for 2025. So I'm just going to go through a bunch of stuff. So let's just start with it. First thing I want to talk about is how we actually started eBay. Like the first time we were living in one of our parents' basements, we were both doing our regular jobs. It just wasn't enough to build up, enough savings for like a down payment. So I remember specifically the moments I was playing Path of Exile on the computer and that I was playing on their Switch. We were basically just waiting for our next work shift, to save up the money. And then out of nowhere, I had seen my brother and other people online who my brother had been doing it for a while, selling stuff. And I was just like, I think we could do it. Because I remember he mentioned at one point that he thought I would be good at it. So I just turned to Aneta. I was like, Aneta, do you want to go ahead and do the eBay thing? She used to like thrifting, like when she was younger and stuff in college and high school. So she's like, yep, sure. And we just got up and we just started. It was like the summer, or I think it was summer of 2020 or 2021. So we just went at it and we did all of the rounds, all of the mistakes at first. So that was specifically why we started, to get extra money to be able to get a down payment for our own place. So yeah, that was like the motivation for it. The stuff that we first sold was kind of just, the generic stuff. I was looking at physical media at the time. So a lot of people weren't really caring about like CDs and DVDs. So I was like easing into it. Didn't really find my rhythm. Aneta was grabbing all sorts of stuff from like plushies to like tchotchkes and ceramics and kind of whatever we can find at like thrift stores or yard sales. And then we got some books and stuff like that. So that's kind of like what we started, where now we're more into like role-playing games, board game. I would say tabletop gaming stuff, along with like niche stuff. Anything that's kind of like more unique is stuff we try to pick up, or stuff that people have like just not as much knowledge about, like board game bits and pieces and stuff like that. But yeah, at first we made like pretty decent money doing it. We were saving up like a decent amount, but we were also spending like a lot of money of the money at the time, like eating out and stuff. So we eventually stopped doing that less, because like doing the reselling when you're out there out and about is pretty exhausting. So we did spend a lot of money, the original money, for saving up, and also a lot of eating out, but we did cut that out at some points. And then people usually ask us where we source. We've kind of sourced almost at everything we could, except for like actually buying a storage unit. That's something I personally want to do at some point, and Ed also wants to do it, but I'll get into that at some point. But we did yard sales and like the typical Goodwills. We have Savers, whatever we can, Mott and Pa thrift stores. We would do, eventually we went into estate sales, and then Aneta found some online auctions, which got me into the auctions. There's also some in-person auctions. We eventually, by going to a bunch of these places, got personal contacts. What do people mean by personal contacts? That just means you literally get their personal number, like their emails or their phone numbers. And now you're just kind of directly communicating with them whenever they get stuff to sell you. So if you we go to a bunch of estate sales, you make a rapport with the person there, as long as you're not rude and polite. You can eventually, they'll understand that you're going to pay money. You're not troublesome for them. They understand what you're doing. You don't have to hide that you're doing like the eBay and stuff. Just like talk normal to these people, and you'll eventually get personal contacts. And at that point, you're kind of cutting out a lot of the middle ground stuff, a lot of the chase. You don't have to go to as many estate sales if you have a couple of numbers and stuff like that. So that's what a lot of people mean by personal contacts, is you just make good rapport and alliances with people like that. And then eventually, we originally stored items on a bookshelf. That bookshelf is still in our storage unit. We have 2 storage units now. But yeah, we originally just had everything on a bookshelf. And then eventually, I quickly realized that we needed to like label stuff in boxes. I knew it was going to get out of hand if we kept going at the rate we were going. So we did eventually. We had stuff on shelves, and the shelves were labeled as like things, but then, a sale comes. Oh no, I thought that was supposed to be in the DVD shelf and it's missing. So we then had to put SKU numbers on the actual boxes, and that's where we're at right now. We have 2 storage units. It is kind of a little bit expensive. Well, it is and isn't, right? We don't have enough space here at the house to have everything here. We were able to actually save up for a place, so that's where we're at right now. This was because of starting at eBay. But yeah, we have 2 storage units. I forget their exact sizes. They're relatively like big or whatever. I always forget the exact dimensions and stuff, but we did have to also upgrade storage units. Like we started in a small one. Like first it was house, like the basement, parents' basement. Then we moved to shelves once that got out of control into like a smaller storage unit. And then when we moved around here, we had to find another different storage unit. So we had to do the storage unit swap, which was a pain to move a bunch of stuff. But that's how we store like our items in boxes, labeled, kind of any boxes I could get. Sometimes we would buy like $5, $10 bins, or you get free bins out and about. And at this point, just like any kind of boxes, I will always keep in mind, like, can I fit this in the storage units? I'm not like a stickler on having everything exactly perfectly looking nice. I wish that would be nice, but I'm trying to do this on like a budget, and we always have been doing this on a budget. Unironically, or not unironically, I think our official like eBay email is 0 to 60K. Because I used to play video games where people would go from like no currency in a video game and they would try to trade up to like a certain thing. Also, people do that for Magic the Gathering. They call it Pack to Black Lotus. So we kind of have this cringy email that we're like stuck with, or I don't know if it's an email, but it's like our official name, or eventually we changed it to Retro Dream Beam. But yeah, that was the goal. We started selling stuff that we just had lying around. That was also one of the first things, anything Annette and I didn't want anymore. I had a bunch of collectibles I didn't want. I wasn't attached to them. You can list them up. So those obviously aren't going to be like the best profit items, because some of them I probably lost money on, but it's just stuff sitting there. All right, for this year for sales, this year is now officially 2025. It is our worst year for full-time. We've been doing it 3 years for full-time. I think, 2023 was our best year. 2024 was like 10% less than 2023. And then this year was like 2-point-something% less than 2024. So this is our official worst full-time year on eBay. And then for how many items we sold, I believe that we sold this year 4,613. I haven't looked at that number. That's just nuts. I mean, we've been grinding it pretty hard. That's a lot of items. That's like the quantity that we sold this year. And then for how much I listed this year, I've always changed like how many I list within the year. I don't actually know how many items I listed this year. I kind of changed my strategy. I would say last year was probably the hardest year I had for listing, or like the hardest I went at it. I was almost essentially hitting 40 items a day, no matter what it was. And if it happened to be like trading cards, where it's kind of easier to like to do like 70 or 80 or something like that, I really pushed myself to the limits of like 40 items. And then like the year before that, I did like 30 items a day. Now I don't even have like a number anymore, for multiple reasons. One is I now got like a bunch of collections of these like board game bits and pieces, where I have to spend a lot of time counting them and separating, expensive expansion cards and stuff. You'll see me sell like the individual cards and stuff. Sometimes those are like with people's board game collection. They might have like whatever, a Descent collection, and you kind of have to like piece it apart and figure out what parts people are going to buy. So it's been taking a lot more time for that. So I want to be more careful. So there's less returns when you're doing like parts and stuff. You have to be careful with the title and stuff to make sure that people are understanding that they're getting like a partial game. So we'll have issues with that. But I try to do as many details, and I've been taking more time, so I've been listing way less. Also, we have the eBay shop where you can only list, I think it's like 10,000 listings, and then once you go past that, you start having to pay like a little price. I don't want to pay a price. And the next shop upgrade, I think, is like $360, $380, and I don't think we can afford that. That would be like just a huge step for us. I think we're doing like the $60 or $80 eBay shop right now. Also with that, though, you do get a bunch of categories where you get like another 10,000 listings or something, like physical media. There's like crafts, there's books. I know there are trading card singles. So there are other categories, even though we are only allowed 10,000 listings for just generic stuff. All the other stuff, we can get some extra listings out there. So how much do we spend on items this year? So I have to pull up our budget. So I'm just going to kind of go through, keep track of this. Not that much. We've been getting pretty good at sourcing, and also not sourcing as much, because when we source, it's essentially like a car full. I know I say it all the time on the channel. I'm not actually joking. It is a car full. So December this month, nothing. November, we spent $200. August was $153. September was $105. These are basically like one-time sources. In October, I did 2 different sourcing. One was $464, which was the auction for the World of Warcraft trading cards, which was pretty good. You'll see that later in this video. And then $60. I forgot I spent $60 on. All right. In July, nothing. In June, we spent $105. In April, there was 3 different times of source: $305, $38, and $105. So those were from like different people and stuff. And then in May, $52. March was a bigger auction, a multi-day auction. I spent $6.81, then $8. You go to auctions, people outbid you. I don't have as much information. I only spent $8. And then another day was $5.98 and then $122. So yeah, you can go to auctions. I noticed that like you never know, someone else might have a lot more money there, which happens sometimes at auctions I go to. There are people that, other people that resell or just want this stuff more than you. All right, and then in February was $300, 30, and 170, and then January was nothing. So I'm not going to total that all up. If you want to do the total, that's how much I spent on sourcing this year. So pretty good, relatively on budget, I would say. That some of those auctions I spent a little bit more than I probably should have at this point with all the stuff we have to list, but we made the money back on that, and I was keeping track of those auctions, particularly because Annette and I had like a discussion of like, should I be out there getting more stuff? And I was convinced at the time that I could sell some of the stuff quick enough to get the money back, and then I was lucky that happened. I when I go to these auctions or when I spend more money on sourcing something, when I feel like uncomfortable about it, I really make sure that it gets listed real quick, like as fast as possible. All that stuff gets listed because I want to make sure that I get like the money back. What kind of items did we buy this year? Let's see. We got a lot of, we got physical media. So just think like books, role-playing game books as well. We got some CDs and DVDs, Blu-rays. We also got a little bit of video games. It's really competitive around us, so it's kind of really hard to get video games. We'll get like the scraps. And a lot of the video games we're just almost at this point speculating on. We have like thousands of video games and stuff. Like we have our own personal collection. Annette had a huge collection before we even started dating. So I also had a little bit. So yeah, we have a huge video game collection that we like using them and playing them from time to time. We also got like trading cards, got a lot of collectibles. We got like, it was kind of, I call it like the policeman storage unit lot that we got. I talk about it. We mostly got a bunch of police die-cast cars, but someone that we know, a personal contact that we know, flips storage units themselves. They get it to fix up actual cars. That's their skill set. And when they buy auction storage units with actual cars, they end up having a bunch of, magazines and small stuff that they don't like to deal with. So like we occasionally buy stuff from them. So they bought a storage unit where there was mostly police stuff. So we were able to buy a lot of these like police die-cast cars, ceramic, ornament, tchotchke, collectible. So yeah, we got that this year. We got a lot of anime stuff from my anime buddy. We actually got some like Warhammer stuff. We got like the World of Warcraft trading card game collection, a lot of board games. What else do we get? A lot of miniatures, wargaming miniatures. So not just like Warhammer and stuff, but like just kind of like a bunch of dead miniature games or maybe games that are less popular. And we also get like the military ones, a ton of like the military metal miniatures, sometimes plastic, the model kits. So yeah, that's a lot of the stuff that we got today. What specific categories do we do best in? So it seems like, let me pull this up real quick. So our top 5 categories, and I'll explain how I do this. So our number 1 category this year was contemporary board games. So I consider a contemporary board game within the past 14 years. So that basically like a modern board game. That was our number 1 category. Our number 2 category was the category other miniatures and war games. I put a lot of stuff that's like not Warhammer into this category, or if eBay doesn't have like these smaller, less popular miniature games, I'll put that in this category. This is heavily like the World War II metal miniatures that you see me sell, or maybe sometimes I'll get like the vintage ones, the McEwen miniatures, just all the random other side stuff kind of goes into this category. Our third category was books. Books are still doing pretty well for us. I do enjoy listing and selling them. The only problem is carrying them, the boxes, not buckets, from the storage unit here to list more into them and bringing it back. It's a workout, but I guess it's healthy for me. Our fourth category is vintage board games. I count anything as a vintage board game as 15 years or older. So like I'll count that we get, so that's another board game category that we are here. And the last thing is toy soldiers. 1970 to now is usually like kind of like a recommended category for, the little toys, like the 1 out of 32 scale, like basically think like Army Men, but there's a lot of different brands. Sometimes they come in like those box kits, like I think like Airfix or some other brands like that. So like those won't go into other miniatures and war games. Those go into the toy soldiers, 1970 to now. And then I'll just do the next 3 it starts to get, a lot less sales at this point. So those are the top 5. So number 6 is collectible card game, sealed decks and kits. So basically sealed card game stuff. This is kind of essentially 2 categories. It was we had some Pokemon that we got lucky that we speculated on, and then with the World of Warcraft stuff. And then there is other like smaller booster packs from dead card games we sell. So sealed card packs and boxes. And then the last category I'll mention, and then it starts, like, the other stuff is still relevant. All the other categories we do well in, but the 7th place is board game bits and pieces. So this is also weird because I started labeling. I used to put board game bits and pieces under their particular, like, contemporary or vintage, when I was having some issues with people thinking that it was still a complete game. And I eventually just started putting everything into pieces and parts. Originally, I had the board game pieces and parts for, like, if I just sold some, like, just some miniatures or just the play money for, like, Monopoly or something like that, or whatever board game. But now I actually, if anything's incomplete for a board game, I put it into this category. So I do think that this category next year will be higher because I've been denoting more stuff as that, if that makes sense. So, you learn as you go, because I had mistakes with some returns. Because of the specific category I put it in, I try to always improve. So that's the stuff that we have been doing best in this year. Best selling items this year. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up real quick for everyone. Best items this year right here. Let's go ahead and let's put that right there. So this is just by dollar amount. So this is a Japanese, I'll go through, like, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, or 20. And I'll try to go through this quick. Japanese Hololive official card game right here, Blooming Radiance. This was kind of lucky that I sold this. I originally spent $300 on this. A buddy was not wanting to get the Japanese version. They were getting the English version that came out. This is going to be like a card game. This is the first set, but it's in Japan language, Japanese language. This sold for $800. I was expecting it to sell for $600. Super lucky. Best sale of this year. Next thing right here is this WoW TCG, Tomb of the Forgotten Aftermath. That's just a particular set in the World of Warcraft trading card game. This ended up going for $531. This basically, after the fees, gets me that one auction where I spent $460. I talked about that earlier in the day. Retroid Pocket right here with the carrying case. I sold this for $280. I always get, so unironically, or not unironically, but my buddy that has the anime stuff sold me this Hololive case, and then the Retroid Pocket right here. So yeah, these were actually pretty good sales. I didn't realize, like, how good of the stuff he got me. I know he always sells me good stuff, and he's always happy to sell me stuff. So, like, I don't feel bad for him. He has so much stuff. He's selling me some more stuff later on. But yeah, this sold for $280. He always gets, like, the updated Retroid Pockets, and then he sells me, like, the old ones. Like, he'll just get the new one. He goes, don't care about the old one. He'll reset it for me to make sure that, his information's not on there or whatever. He said people like them. I've never used it, but yeah. Next up is going to be a Battle of the Aspects WoW TCG raid deck right here. It's crazy because I never seen this one before I got this from the auction. Also $231. So now we're in the profit for that auction, that one lot I went to. So I was pretty happy about it. Right here, also got lucky in Incomplete Heroes for Dungeon Quest right here. Expansion. These expansions are really expensive. This sold for $215 as incomplete. I also think this went international, so I feel good for the person who got that because they probably didn't have access to it. So yeah. Really cool game. I like Dungeon Quest. I have the Fantasy Flight, which I think is like the 2nd edition or 3rd, whatever. It's a really good game. And then right here, this is a weird one. This was a clock that I have to actually relist. I didn't sell the clock. I was having issues selling something to someone international. We had like a combined order of like a bunch of stuff they wanted, and a lot of my listings said that they couldn't purchase from me. So I went ahead and said, can you find an item with a similar price, and I'll just send you the stuff. You're not supposed to do this, but so I was taking a gamble. It worked out, but yeah, it wasn't this clock. It was like a combo order, I think, of a bunch of stuff international for $214. All right, next up, also the Dungeon Quest. This was missing only like a couple pieces. I think it was like some cards or something. Super cool. It has like a shiny cover. Sorry, it's kind of like blurry here. This is just how I have it set up. $210 for this. And then we'll do a couple more things here. We had a binder right here that Annetta won in an auction. It was just like a huge, kind of like a historical piece. So it's just a binder well kept from like one family from Ohio to, I forgot what place in Europe. And they had like communicated over like many, many years. Yeah, really cool thing. It was well written, really good cursive, lots of like, information, little knickknacks. It wasn't just letters. This was a really cool thing to sell, and someone was super excited when they bought it for $204.41. I do believe we did spend like 60 or 70. So a lot of this stuff we usually get for cheaper, but this one was worth it. But yeah, I remember we like bid up on this, and then Annetta had confidence. At one point I wanted to drop out when we were at like 40 or $50 for this, but Annetta helped me push through, and then it ended up working out. So she always makes good profit. All right. Then there was 15 lots right here. This is a combo order. I'll still consider this because a lot of people were telling me, literally a lot of people, at least 50 messages on eBay when I was listening to this stuff. They were essentially insulting me, telling me this stuff wasn't going to sell. People don't want bits and pieces. They can buy it for, 1 cent free shipping from other. Lots of mumbo jumbo. This ended up selling for $203.51 for a single lot of 15 of these. Just 15. So yeah, I got like 500 lots of those. So just to give you an idea, when people tell you that stuff is not like, trust your instincts and your guts and your experience. So anytime people message me, I would love to be petty and just send them like links of all the stuff I sold. I'm not going to, obviously, but I just ignore it. I ignore those messages these days. This one right here, we have a couple. This actually might have been a viewer sale. I'm not 100% sure. And I also got this from my brother for free. I went to a card show with him. He does mostly wrestling cards now on eBay, or anything that's cards. That's about what he has space for. And that's just like what his passion is. So he used to do like yard sale stuff. He was actually one of the inspirations why I'm doing eBay now. So it's kind of cool, full story. But he gave me all these bits and pieces. This one happened to be worth a ton of money. I felt really bad. I messaged him. He's like, nah. He told me like, nah, it's fine that you made that much money because, he's like, it was just going to sit there for years and he wasn't going to go through it. It was like 2 bags of bits and pieces. I listed everything. It took like 2.5 days, but $200.31. And I remember this going international and I wasn't sure about from the messages, but it seemed like that they said that they liked the show. I'm assuming channel or something, but I never got like confirmation on it. So yeah, $200 for that. That's pretty cool, but it could have been a viewer sale. I'm not 100% sure on that. And then right here over is this Warhammer Age of Sigmar, some kind of cool terrain, $195.44. I think I spent $50 on this one. So I didn't realize how expensive Warhammer terrain could be, like official terrain. Like I knew Warhammer stuff is expensive. I had never gotten terrain pieces by Warhammer, Games Workshop, Citadel. So like this was an eye opener for me. I wasn't surprised after I looked it up. Like when someone's like, oh, I have this to sell, and I looked it up. I'm like, oh, wow, it goes for a lot. I'm like, I guess it's a good one. It's a big piece. People like to decorate their wargaming maps. And then, okay, I'll do 3 more. This right here is Dungeon Quest Catacombs. Another no box, but this was complete. Crazy. Like the other Dungeon Quests. This is the first edition, $175.70. And then this thing is a pretty cool one. This took up a lot of space. A promotional paint rack. This is actually like a big thing, the official thing. They would go to a retailer store and you'll see like different paints on the rack. This is going to go in someone's really cool man cave. It took a while to sell at $172.32 because a lot of the money was, they also had to pay a ton of shipping for this one. But yeah, this is like a unique thing. This is like someone goes on eBay. They're looking maybe specifically for this. I'm the only one that had it on the whole website. It's a really cool, you had to own a shop to get this. You had to buy product from this company. I don't know anything about this Ammo MIG paint company, so I like don't even know anything about it. So took up a lot of space. That is the stuff that you get. It's big and it's like, it's going to be a lot for shipping and it's going to be a pain. But yeah, cool thing for someone. I feel good that we sold it to someone. It literally is probably a nice display piece for someone that has all their paints on it. Like it holds all the paints from that set. Last thing right here is these Dark Horse extra comic issues right here. It's a bunch of them. It was a whole lot international as well. $162.20 for a bunch of these. I have a lot of each of these, so these have been really good. They were sitting behind me for a long time. Had no idea the money I was sitting on. I was kind of being lazy to list them because I knew I had to do a bunch of heavy lifting to essentially list them all and bring them to the storage unit and find a shelf so they don't break. And, there's some safety with that that I had to be concerned about. But yeah, it's kind of crazy thinking about this, just me recapping this with all of you. International sale right here. I don't know how many of these Dungeon Quests were international. I know at least one of them was. This Transformers was international. Let me see if there was any other. I think one of the World of Warcraft things was international. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, those are some of the top sales that we had. All right, moving along. Did we do anything new for eBay this year? I think we got like more of the so we like I would say we like some of the sources we didn't reach out to as much. We just kind of have too much stuff. So there's like personal contacts that we haven't reached out for a while. We did reach out to the one person where we got the police diecast car stuff. We hadn't reached out to them in a while. At first I sent like a text message, didn't get a response for like a month. And then they finally were like, yep, I got some stuff to sell. So we hadn't gone to them for a while. We also got like all the board game bits and pieces, like collections and carfuls and stuff like that. And then I made it a thing to go to specific in-person auctions that I'm now wanting to always go to. And then also some of the online auctions that we used to do, we haven't done as much because there was like an online auction that was selling a lot of autograph stuff, and then they started getting like bad reviews for like, you know, the autographs not being real. So it kind of made me question, like, we don't go for that kind of stuff, but like it was kind of obvious, like no one really has like, you know, anytime a person would be like a news of the month or whatever, and out of nowhere this auction place would have, you know, 50 autographed copies of whoever the popular celebrity, or if someone would pass away, all of a sudden all these like autograph things for this person came up, and it just kind of made us go like, well, if that's not being looked after, we have to be careful and think about what else, you know, we'll be purchasing from these online auctions that might not be, you know, legit or whatever. So yeah, based off of just like, so less online auctions with certain ones. Trying to think if we did anything else new this year for eBay. We tried different like sales and pricing strategies and stuff. We mostly do a perceived, it's kind of like a multiple thing. So we're doing quantity items listed and a perceived value sale where we want to hedge people towards combined shipping. We do calculated shipping for people. So obviously if people get a lot more stuff, it's not that much more expensive for them. But we will put on like a higher price, and then we put on like some kind of sale, and then we'll also do offers. So that's just what helped us go full-time. We've tried different stuff before full-time. It wasn't working out as much. We have considered doing different pricing strategies. That's just what we've been doing because it's been working and paying the bills. That's the whole goal here, to pay the bills. All right. Moving along, challenges this year, scammers on eBay. There's been a lot of refunds we've been getting, or, you know, making up stuff in like reviews or negative reviews, and that usually handles a lot of that back end stuff. But yeah, it's been I feel like, I guess we sell a good amount of items, so it's bound to happen. It doesn't bother me. I know that bothers a lot of people. We haven't gotten any like rocks sent back to us or empty boxes. I know it's going to happen at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. We've had a lot of people who don't put the right address, so it gets into a sticky situation where the item comes back to us, and it just gets really awkward at that point. But yeah, there's definitely feels like there's a lot of review extortions where people are like, oh, well, this wasn't what I wanted from the item, so you can give me some X number of dollars off and we'll call it even. People aren't allowed to do that. You should actually report them for that. And they also can't give you negative feedback for that. I always say, I ask people, I apologize for any mistakes. I always tell people I will be trying to get better, which is true. I'm trying to make sure you're never going to get perfect. I want people to get the item that I'm describing. I want to be accurate. I want them also to be honest about it as well. But I always ask people to do returns. There's been very few items where we just kind of refund the money. If it's such a big mess up, there have been a couple. I can't think of any at the top of my head, but I know at least like twice this year where I'm like, oh, I messed up bad on that listing. That's a refund. You know, that is a full-on refund. My bad for that. But in general, you don't have to cave into people, or at least we don't, for people that are trying to get extra money out of a listing. So yeah. It's been okay, I guess, like overall for, I guess, the scamming. I mean, it's always going to be there. It's also always hard to tell if there's a scammer or not on the other end. You don't know who's being genuine or not. So figure out like what you want to do with your business. If you're the type that doesn't want to deal with the stress of it and you just want to refund all the people that are doing this, go ahead. That's your prerogative. But for us, we have free returns on everything to show good faith. I like to actually get the item back because I want the item. Like if the person doesn't want the item, I want it back. I'll give them their shipping. I'll give them all their money back. There's only one that bothered me ever on eBay. It was these cube worlds, these little cool vintage little like programs or cubes that connect to each other and they kind of interact with each other. We had a really cool sealed set, and the value of the cube worlds in the sealed package is way more than when you open them up and use them. The person opened them up, said that they didn't work, and then returned everything, but I haven't ever used a cube world in my life, so I have to find someone who's like more of an expert to tinker with it. But it kind of made me sad because like the value was way, way, way more sealed than open. And I was frustrated because if the person wanted to use them, they should have just bought the used ones. There's plenty of used ones on eBay. So I don't know what exactly. It didn't seem like they did a swap-a-roo on me, but you never really know because I don't know anything about like the cube world thing. So maybe they did like a clean swap-a-roo on me, but that one bothered me. That one did bother me because like Some stuff just, obviously when you sell an item, it's the person's item. They can do whatever. They can throw it away if they want. That's their item. They can do what they want. But yeah, I don't know, something about that one, just because I was like, oh, they could have bought a used one, like for like a tenth of the price or a third of the price at the time or whatever. All right. So also, Annetta wanted me to mention that she thinks sourcing at our local thrift stores has kind of just been a wasted time, our time and money. We did find some okay places near us. It's always about when we haven't gone to like thrift stores in a while, and usually when we'll do like mini road trips, we haven't done any in a while. We've kind of just been stuck here saving up some money and just doing the eBay grind. But yeah, I lost track of my thoughts. But yeah, we'll find like cool places in other towns occasionally, and that's cool. But like near us particularly, she thinks there hasn't been that much good stuff. But thrift stores are always like, it's random stuff that were being donated to these places, or the mega hub, what items they decide to send to different towns. Like, the bigger thrift stores do have like a system where like, they'll see if, CDs sell more in like one state or another, they'll ship out more CDs to that particular place. So you kind of have to keep going to thrift stores to figure out like, when's the best time? When did they get like a cool donation of stuff? I remember when we first started in 2021, there was I think it was a Goodwill we went to, and there must have been a toy store or something that they had a bunch of the stuff, because I kept seeing on their labels the toy store name. I don't know, so maybe like a local toy store, but there was a lot of good stuff that we were flipping, so we kept going to this Goodwill like literally every day, because they were constantly, they must have had a bunch of that stuff from that toy store, and they kept bringing it out and then out, and then I kept picking up the stuff. That was like our early good flip, where we realized that we were taking an opportunity, that we noticed that there's this toy store stuff there, and Goodwill was pricing at a good price. All right, but like I think the thrift stores in general is kind of like, they're all their own story about if you can flip well or not, and it's all about timing and good luck, and that's about it with that one. She also wants me to mention our inventory. Our inventory is kind of out of control. I don't like to admit it. There's a lot of stuff in both of our cars right now, just like stuff that needs to be listed. I am listing a good amount, but our storage is pretty full. Our listing cap on the eBay is pretty full, so it's a very specific problem. I didn't think I would get here that fast, I guess. I mean, it has been, let's see, we've been on eBay since 2020. It started part-time for a long time, so it has been almost, was that more than 5 years? Yeah, I think so. So I never actually planned to get to this point, because like, even though I'm good at grinding stuff out, grinding meaning I just sit there and just list. I don't care if my brain's melting. I just keep listing. Yeah, so the inventory, it is good stuff though. As you saw, all that stuff I mentioned, all the prices we paid, we get a ton of stuff. So it's a weird situation where getting decent stuff at a really good price where I can't say no. You also want to keep up your personal contacts, or else you will eventually lose them. People also want to constantly be selling their stuff too. If it's a storage unit flipper, they also want to, they keep track of who helps them, and then you eventually could lose personal contacts that way. But yeah, the inventory is crazy. The whole other room is kind of a mess. I think a lot of it I can spend, if I spend a few weeks organizing it, I can do it well. I like to focus, instead of like organizing the inventory, I like to just pull out a box and just start listing the stuff. I feel like that's more useful, but I do think I have to figure out a way to organize it better. It's definitely a weird problem, and it feels like the only solution is to get more space. We don't want to pay for another storage unit. It's just way too expensive. We don't have enough space here at home. We just don't. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird problem that overwhelms me. I normally don't get overwhelmed with it, but I don't know. I guess at some point I might just have to say no to stuff that we're buying. We don't spend. It's not the money. It's not the problem. That's the thing, is I know we'll get the money tenfold back. It's the actual space. So I guess that's where we're at right now. All right. This next part, this is a challenge for sure. This is actually what I think is actually the most doomer, I think, about eBay in particular for everyone overall involved. So I'm going to pull this up real quick. This has to do with USPS shipping prices. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This is public information right here. I don't know how many people know this. There is this 10-year plan to achieve financial sustainability and service from the post office. If you actually click right here, you can actually read their their plan. It's like 60 pages. I'll pull it up in a second right here. Their goal right here is they want to be able to like make up for lost money in projected losses, projections. You know, that's projected. Who does the projection? You don't know. So it's all guesswork. By 2030, which means we still have 5 more years of this plan. Essentially, the plan is to increase the prices of shipping for everyone. So this hurts everyone across the board. Customers have to pay more. Free shippers have to pay more. People who do calculated shipping have to pay more, which is their customers. People who do flat pricing on their shipping when they go to print the label, they're also going to pay more. eBay does give you a discount when you use their program to print labels, which most people probably do. How long will that discount last? How deep or steep will that discount be? I don't actually know. I couldn't find anything about that particularly on the eBay. I didn't go too deep on the eBay discounts, but this essentially is more expensive for everyone. I already think that the shipping prices are insane for what they are right now, and we still have 5 more years of increases. I personally, my opinion, I don't think this is sustainable. It's just nuts. So let's go ahead. I actually clicked on this thing. So this is, you can click on this and read this. I enjoy reading like board game rule books and stuff. So I kind of enjoy, I mean, it's a little dry, but I enjoy reading this stuff. And you also have to read between the lines of what, you know, all the mumbo, like the jargon is saying here. So yeah, they give you this like table of contents, and a lot of this stuff, I just look into it. Like I said, there's 5 more years of this. Essentially, they're talking about like, you know, when they get money, what they're going to do here with like regulatory changes with the commission right here includes pricing flexibility for market dominant products. They're essentially just saying they're going to increase the prices to be competitive with, you know, other places like UPS and FedEx. We have, you know, 24 billion for self-help management initiatives. This is essentially, in my mind, my opinion, means that they're just trying to get stuff like us to scan in our stuff at those like check-in places, right? They want like not employees to be handling it. So I don't think that's good right there. You have self-help management cost improvements. It includes mail processing, transportation, retail delivery, and administration efficiency right here, or efficiency right here. So yeah, this is just like all you have to like really read into this. They were talking about in their projections in the past, if things would have been going the way that they were going going to lose $160 billion. But with all their insane price increases, they think they're going to be 0.2 billion increased right here. So they make these like fancy graphs to try to be dramatic. Like you can kind of make any graph kind of look like anything depending on like, you know, how you do the X and Y axis right here. But the red bars is what they're trying to be like, oh, look at how doomer we were going to be if we kept going at the rate we were going to go. And it's all projections. Not a single person can predict the future. So none of this is actually factual, if that makes sense. That's how I see it. This is all just projections. And then with their price increases, they're going to say, because all of us are paying more, that this is going to be like how much money that they make. But they don't go too right here, they also talk about how like they're like, oh, we were also selling less and less billion pieces of mail here, right here, all the way from 2007, 2020. I personally think it's just because it's like more expensive and people do try to find alternative ways to ship stuff. So like that's my opinion and why this was going down. But they're kind of saying like, oh, well, we were making less money and we're shipping less stuff, so we have to reverse course right there. They also talk about right here that they don't control this actually bothered me the most. They kind of talk right here about how the planes are not controlled by the post office. Therefore, most of the mistakes for packages being missing is because of the not controlled planes that they don't own, which I'll get into our personal experience with that. So that's why they have ground advantage now. When you pay for ground advantage, it's going from like their plant to another plant, which has been like actually okay. I'll give them that the time frame for the ground advantage has actually been pretty decent. I'll give them that. So it's not all like doom and gloom there. But look at this. They make this fancy chart right here that talks about like how bad and inconsistent the planes are. Honestly, I would say like 95% or more of our packages that have been missing has been at a processing center right here at this point, or at the destination. A lot of time it's like where it's being sent to. Ours has been like hit or miss. There's like a certain one or two of them. I'm not going to call them out, but when they get lost there, I'm like, oh, this is going to take like 3 weeks for that lost package. So, usually that's not enough time for a customer. Like you usually have to refund that. But yeah, it's usually, in my opinion, actually at the processing center. So they're just trying to blame the planes here, which is why they have ground advantage. I think this is kind of, I think the post office should take accountability for like where things actually get lost at, and not just try to blame like, oh, it's the one part that we don't control. I think that's just a little cop out. More of these graphs about like, about like the way things were going to be going for different stuff, like service performance is, better because they're getting more money, and, all these little graphs. I haven't gone too deep into all these. I'll just read some of them. Like I said, this is dry. I do enjoy reading, and you also have to read up between the lines. I don't know anything about this enactment right here. Maybe at some point I'll look into this. But I think they were saying whatever this was caused them to lose a lot of money from 2006. They were saying they were making money when this was enacted in 2007, that was the cause for them losing a bunch of money. I have no idea about this. It's just interesting. Right there, more blame at other stuff, honestly, is how I see it. I think it's really humble for people or corporations and stuff like that to actually, if they actually want to improve stuff, you have to actually look at inward at yourself or the company or like the inner stuff. Trying to always do blame on other stuff is obvious. In my opinion, it's obvious that they're just trying to avoid actually fixing the problem. You gotta fix there might be some problems from these places, like from this enactment, whatever that is, or from the up here, the planes. Yeah, there might be some problems there, but they're even mentioning that they can't control it. So they should try to actually fix some of the problems in the places that they can control. That's the obvious in my head. So yeah, this is, let's see what else. If this is like, yeah, once again, like, we were going to lose the whole world's billions of dollars if we kept up at this rate. Just so you know, this is all projected. This is not a factual statement. 2026 through 2030 hasn't happened yet. So yeah, this is all just based off of a projection in what was it, 2020 or 2021? So yeah, no one can see the future. So that's why I look at this with like a grain of salt here. I just noticed like what we do. All right, so like, let's see, more stuff here. I haven't read into all of it. They're talking about like stuff that they're trying to increase, improvements maybe to like notifications and stuff, which is fine. I do like ground advantage. There has been, I do notice it's been pretty decent, but still I mostly see the losses at the distribution centers. So yeah, let's see what else we have here. Like I said, some of this is hard to go through. They want to improve the trucks. I don't know if they've done this yet. And I'm fine. Like if it actually makes like the employees enjoy their like inner truck, and I'm for helping the employees, but I didn't read every single word on this, but I don't see anything about actually paying their employees more. I've seen our post office has 2 less employees, so they're doing like double the work in my head. There used to be 4, then they got down to 2, and then they eventually hired a 3rd person. But I'd rather, like, if we're paying more for stuff, I think a really simple solution to actually get better service at the distribution levels and like on the ground advantage level within the post office, where they can actually just like give better benefits and pay their employees a better wage. Like all of us as customers are paying more into the shipping, like a lot. In my head, it is way too much. And I want some of it to go to like the actual people that are working here on the ground. Like that's my opinion. But I think it's an obvious thing. I worked at like a restaurant before, and usually the simple answer is just like the people want to do their job, but they want to be paid at like a good rate for it. So yeah, I don't really see too much about improving their employees in much of this. It's just like all these doomer graphs about here's another one. This was like how much we were going to crash in a projection if it kept going this rate. So, okay, enough on that. You can literally pull this up. So like, I'm not making this up. There is a lot of my opinions in this particular thing, but I think that that's actually rough for us. I'm so curious. I think if our eBay business fails, I was just talking about accountability. Like we're going to try as much as we can to go around this, and essentially we're going to have to sell more stuff at a better margin in order to like maintain the increasing shipping costs. And I don't know if our customers will be able to like keep up with buying this stuff at these prices. Like, I can't actually imagine 5 more years of constant price increases on stamps, medium mill, ground advantage, priority. I just can't actually see this going in a good direction. We'll see. And it really depends on if eBay gets like a better discount or something for printing their labels. You get a good discount. I don't know the exact percentage. I want to say 25%, but don't quote me on that one. So that is like this is my biggest concern. And I can't control the prices here, right? So this is something, I'm not blaming them for this, but I do think this is the biggest threat to our eBay business. And this is like what I focus on a lot. And I think the only thing I can do is, you have to see if there's other services that are cheaper, and there's not really. UPS is good for like bigger items, but we'll see what happens with this. I don't think that this is sustainable for buyers and sellers. We will find out. All right. Next up is going to be USPS has lost some of our packages, and then we have to file claims multiple times. There's a cool new eBay thing. Well, a couple of things that eBay has helped with. So for eBay international shipping, as long as you ship it to their hub and that gets handled properly and it's correct there, eBay will cover you and the customer if at that point forward there's issues with like an item getting lost or something. So that one's pretty good. We don't use the like USPS international shipping. It's the eBay international shipping program. Also for the eBay standard envelope card thing, if they also get lost, you can hit up eBay and get your money back for some lost cards. We've done that a couple times. And the coolest thing, which I think they added in October or September, and then it worked out twice for us, where if you ship an item, right? So we shipped this Pokemon tin. It was Pokemon card, so it was about $109. The item was late, so the person hadn't arrived yet, so they put an item not received case. We refunded before the day eBay had to step in. So we'll wait. I'll wait until to see if the package gets there. I'll wait till the last day. You do not want eBay to step in. You want to handle it before then. And if you do that now, if you refund an INR, item not received case, beforehand, you can actually hit up eBay once it gets delivered, and then they will give your money back. They will see that it got delivered late and that you did everything proper. Oh, the other thing is you have to do your shipping label through them. That's the other stipulation. Shipping label through them and refund before the item not received case is closed, if that makes sense. So we reached out for the Pokemon and got our money back. And then there was another item that eBay just automatically did it. Like we had refunded at one point. I forgot to call eBay about it or whatever. And then they gave us the money back. Also, we had to do a ground advantage claim this year. I forgot what item it was, but we also got our money back for the ground advantage. I think it's up to $100. So yeah, that's been okay. That's been working out. But yeah, keep track of that. All right. I talked about this also, another challenge. I already talked about it, running out of like storage space, and we want to it's our biggest cost other than time. Our biggest cost is trying to essentially, cut the storage unit cost, so it's the storage unit is a lot. It feels kind of necessary. If we didn't have both storage units, that means that less money we need to sell to pay for our bills. So it's kind of like this like weird math we have to figure out. I brought Aneta to the storage unit recently. She hadn't been there in a long time, and I asked her, I was like, do you really think we could like fit this stuff in like our extra like little room where I used to list in, where we have a bunch of inventory right now in our board game collection? And she's like, I don't think so. So it's a weird thing that we do. It's gonna be a problem for us in 2026. I know there's a lot of people who have recommended live selling for me, but I don't think our products are generally good for live selling. I'm not against it, but like we have a lot of specific like pieces and stuff that people have to be like hunting out. Where if I do live selling, I feel like I'm gonna get like the, really low money on it. Even if I get stuff super cheap, I can't envision with the live selling being able to like sell a bunch of stuff at a decent price when it's niche stuff. And like people really have to be hunting out. Like how many people on a live are going to want a board game rule book from a 1979 board game? How many people live are going to want a very specific RPG zine there was only 100 copies of, made by someone when they were 20? It's just like, I don't see the two meshing together right now. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're going to have to figure out something for the storage at some point. I mean, the only other thing is to keep going on course, save as much money as we can, which we always have been doing, and then, buy a bigger place. I don't think that's happening in 2026. I mean, I guess no one, like I said earlier, no one can see the future. It just does. It seems unlikely that we'll have like explosive sales. Like 2025 was our worst year by a couple percent. So at some point, I'm hoping that next year is slightly better. Like 5%, if it's 5% better or something, I'll take that as a win. I'm not greedy. I just like, it would be really, I have to like think about it and be serious. You know, if I keep seeing each year go slightly less, slightly less, slightly less, and then costs of stuff, you know, from like house bills to, I guess the sourcing is not more expensive, but you know, house bills and like the shipping and stuff and the fees, if those get increased, we don't know. If that keeps increasing, I mean, at some point it's not sustainable for us doing this full time. So it is a thing we take serious. All right. What are we going to do differently next year? All right. So for sourcing, sourcing's a rough one. And then I have like different thoughts on this. There's certain auctions I want to go to, but I think she might be right where I have to like be really picky. I don't know. I have two minds of this. At one point, I want to spend like a little bit more and take a little bit more of a risk at this point because we're going to be on year 4 for full time, and I kind of want to get like a little jump. But then I also understand that the tortoise wins the race, and just going slow at this pace like could also be like a really solid strategy to be really safe about it. So, and then I will constantly be discussing about like my budget auctions and stuff, and the personal collections. There are a couple of personal like sourcing options that have been pretty good for us and consistent, so we've been keeping up with them. So yeah, and then so that's essentially like sourcing. It's still kind of up in the air, like how much money will I spend on auctions? I think it's the real question. A couple other of my personal sources are just cheap enough where the storage is the problem, not the money. All right, and then for pricing, we've gone back and forth on pricing. We've even done the theory craft of what if we just take everything in our store and put it at 50%. I don't think that's a good long-term strategy. I'm not against trying it if Annetta convinces me of it. I know sometimes she'll go back and forth on that one as well. So we'll see. I currently like our perceived value, combined shipping, sending out offer strategy. Like 90-something% of our items sell on offer. We don't do promotions anymore. We tried a year or two where we did different various promotions on eBay with like the different percentages. I noticed we were selling essentially almost the same quantity and stuff and about the same dollar points, and then we were just paying more in fees to like eBay and stuff like that. So, but we could always turn it back on. We're not like hard pressed on completely eliminating all ideas. I'm a little bit more of a hard sell than Annetta. She usually has to. I like to talk it out a lot and think about it. We're at a point where I don't want to do a strategy way different than what we have, because this is every single penny goes into, it's only, all of our bills are only through eBay. So it could be scary, at least in my mind, to change something up dramatically. All right. And then she put down like if we're going to be moving old inventory or enlisting. I don't really see like old inventory as like a big problem. There's a lot of, I don't view stuff as old inventory. I just think about this differently. I see every item as like an item that someone will buy. I don't think because I've had it a certain amount of time that it's now not something that someone doesn't want. Because when I go buy an item, let's just say I'm looking for a board game. I'm not thinking about how long it's been sitting on someone's like eBay shelf. Yeah, for some retail stores, you know, all that like shelf space does matter and cost, stuff like that. I just don't think about that for eBay for what we're doing, if that makes sense. I just don't view it that way. I understand the counter argument, heard it a billion times. I do have a degree in business, so like I do understand it. I just like to think about the eBay differently in that sense. I don't really like to unlist anything. She put that as a topic if we unlist stuff. Once we put the time and effort into it, I would only unlist something if it's taking up so much space in the storage unit. I'd rather just lower the price, honestly. That would be the best thing for like moving like big items or something. I would think about unlisting. If you keep lowering the price and it doesn't sell, then yeah, I guess it's gone. But like I said, we sell a lot of niche stuff, so we're already waiting for a unique customer. So it's just waiting for the one person. You just need to find one person to buy something. You don't need an item with 30 watchers watching it. We've had an item with like 72 watchers where it took like years to sell. We've had items with no watchers, 2 views, sells. That's all that matters, if it sells to the right person at the right time for the right price, and that the person has to be in the right mood for it. She also put down if we're going to find new sources. I don't know if we're going to, I guess we're always on the lookout. I just don't know if we need more new sources right now. Feels like our problem is having too much stuff, like inventory and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Next year is going to be really interesting. We're going to do videos and show you guys as we go. I don't like to do any big changes, but I'm not against it. I always think it'd be crazy to do a 50% sale and see what happens. But then it seems like I would put a lot of time and effort into listing stuff for years to just like put a 50% sale. And what if it only results in a couple of good days of pricing, and then your customers that follow your shop now are going to be expecting that and they won't buy stuff when it's not on 50%. So it's always like interesting to go through theory crafts and think about this stuff. But yeah, we don't put any idea off the table. We just, we've thought about a lot of stuff. We've tried a lot of stuff too before we were recording on YouTube. All right. I think that's everything. I'm just going to wrap this up. Let me know how your selling was this year. I know some people made like a killing. I know there's certain categories like sealed cards, Pokemon Magic were pretty good. I saw Warhammer stuff, Warhammer 40K, crushing it, absolutely crushing it. And just like there are certain categories like antique collectibles. The miniatures was really good for us, like the war game miniatures. So there are some categories that were just absolutely annihilating it. I'm not too sure where like clothes landed. I don't really know that many people that did clothes. Other than when I go to the post office, I see other people bring in like hauls of clothes, so I assume it's doing pretty good. But I know there was also like a year or two where like people were claiming it was oversaturated, not doing well. So, what did you guys struggle with the most this year? I think for me, it's been the inventory. Are you guys planning on reselling in 2026? I don't know how many people watch that resell. I think everyone should think about it. It's really helpful. There's people that come to the store or to the post office. So it might be like a grandma or something, and then she'll be like, oh, she'll feel bad. She'll see my bag and she'll be like, oh, well, I'm not selling as much as him. I'm like, hey, you're selling 2 items a day. If they're 10, 20, 30 bucks, that adds up. That pays for like some groceries. That pays for maybe some increases in some bills. So like, I think more people should be selling stuff. Plus there's technically collectibles I won't mention that I'm looking for. So the more people selling collectibles and stuff, maybe eventually they'll have the rare ones I'm looking for. So yeah, I think more people in the ecosystem is better for everyone. A lot of people, I've sold a lot of stuff that people are throwing away. So we've essentially salvaged that stuff. We get to make money, pay our bills, feed ourselves, feed our cats. And then the item didn't go into the trash. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the trash that's just, it's unbelievable. A lot of good stuff. And I know people like they don't have space and they just want to get rid of it. So I see it as almost like recyclings too, and also like keeping alive physical history. I know it sounds dramatic, but like the more time goes on, the more stuff of like a certain era gets thrown away. It becomes more rare, and it kind of I don't know. I just think it's sad. Are you guys changing like your sourcing strategy? Or like what exactly you're selling? I think we're gonna keep on the categories we are, but then I wanted to like think about going into some like other stuff as well. I forgot what she mentioned the other day, but yeah. What do you guys have fun doing on eBay this year? This year was like, I think this year was kind of like stressful for us because we had like our highest high day and our lowest low day. We had a $37 day, which was unheard of for us. I think that was the lowest ever on eBay. Being on like the 5th year of eBay, getting a $37 day was absolutely annihilating. But yeah, the highs were fun as well. It's been a interesting year for us. So I've learned to appreciate more and more of the history in the stuff I'm selling. I just like reading up on the products or like the board game companies or like the card companies. That's what I've gotten more passionate about this year. Where before, at first it started as dollar signs and it's like, okay, I like the tabletop gaming stuff. Now I like, even if it's like a company or something or a board game I enjoy learning more about it, the miniature companies, why people are buying this stuff. I like thinking about it. So that's what I've been enjoying this particular year. It's just the year appreciating the passion that other people have for the stuff that they're collecting. It's kind of crazy cool to see people buy collections or like they're buying like little collectibles because they have a huge collection. I remember the story of someone who we had listed a German Settlers of Catan expansion. They sent us a picture in eBay of every single foreign Settlers of Catan product that existed. It was like over 100, and they basically said like, please, can you sell me this for like a decent price? It will complete my full-fledged foreign Settlers of Catan collection. I thought that was just fantastic. That was amazing to me. I don't know why. That was amazing. I think that was like the one time where someone did like essentially like an emotional plea to get a cheaper price on an item, and I took it because like that's just cool that people care about like stuff. Has anyone had any like good collections or scores? Have they made like a lot of money? It's not always about the money, but it definitely like for us, as long as we pay our bills, that's all that matters to me. I want to feed Annette and I want to feed the cats, and anything extra is just kind of gravy. It's a lot of it's empowering to like do your own business and to like and some of it's a struggle, but it is really empowering, and it feels good, you know, to be able to do this. So I'm wondering how everyone else has been doing. All right, everyone. Last video. Thanks for watching. I feel like more people watch me than I would imagine. Please don't forget to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. If anything I said was like helpful or insightful, or even if you want to like discuss it down below, let me know. I love you guys. Hope everyone has a fantastic holiday and a start to the new year. We will see how 2026 is for eBay, but for us, this year was technically our worst year, but we will see how the next one goes. Everyone has a fantastic holiday and a start to the new year. Peace out, everyone. 2026. First video will be up tomorrow. Have a good one.